I'm Jackie McLaughlin, the Director of the Pre-Health Programs at Penn. This information session is designed to give you some insight into the life of our pre-health post-baccalaureate students. You will get an overview of our curriculum and even an opportunity to ask questions of a student representative during our live Q&A session. Many prospective students wonder what we're looking for in a pre-health student. There are some common characteristics we see across our core and specialized students at Penn. All are intellectually curious, goal-oriented, and willing to work hard. We also look for students with a service orientation, leadership potential, and compassion for others. If this describes you, we invite you to stay tuned and take a closer look. Well, our program is unique in that we have flexibility for students to do this program in a variety of ways. The majority of our courses are offered in the evening. Students may do that on a full-time basis or a part-time basis, but any student that's accepted into our program is eligible to take classes, a comparable class during the day. The majority of the courses that will meet requirements for the core certificate or the specialized certificate are science courses. Those courses may be chemistry, biology, physics, and we have a wide variety of neuroscience courses that meet those requirements as well. But students may stay and take additional courses if they like. So we have a wide range of undergraduate science courses. We can also weave in math requirements or social science requirements for students who need those as well. So for the specialized studies student who is taking HCUs, they can do that within 1 year, within 2 semesters, a fall term and a spring term, taking 4 courses each semester. If they choose to go part-time, they can spread that out over 2 years, over 5 sequential semesters, taking 2 courses a semester if they happen to be working full-time or part-time. It really will take about 2 years for a core student to complete the program. Core students have the option of starting in the summer or they might start in the fall term. If they are going full-time, they might complete the majority of the requirements in 1 full year, yet there still will be additional requirements they might need if they're applying to medical school. For example, biochemistry being the one that really stands out. So in that situation, it really makes sense, and what we're advocating now for most of our core students is that they're really looking at a 2-year time frame. Starting in the fall makes a lot of sense. The pace is very nice, and a core student is able to weave in the experiences that they need to have in research or in clinical exposure, which really makes them a much stronger candidate when it comes to application. I think our admissions process is very detailed and very careful. And one of the things that we're looking for is offering admissions to students that we think are going to be successful in this program. But part of that success is also engaging with the faculty and engaging with the advising team early on and continuing to come in and meet with advisors so that we can all work together as a team to make sure that students are reaching their goals and staying on track. And an advisor plays many different roles. An advisor can help with career counseling, with academic advising, helping with selection of courses, but can also be a confidant and a counselor as well when a student needs some additional help outside of the school environment. For the student who might have done some basic general chemistry or maybe some intro bio, but needs to do additional core prerequisite courses, we're the perfect place for them because they can come in and fill in those core requirements that they need, and then take additional advanced science courses as well. So they're a very good fit. We do consultation with students initially to find out where they fit. Should they consider themselves a core student or should they consider themselves a specialized student? So if someone is unsure at the time of application, just submit your application and we will work with you to sort that out. What we look for in the core applicant is someone who has a great academic track record, who has the motivation, and is willing to work hard. You have to have an understanding of yourself and why you want to go in this direction. But that's exactly what a core program is for the person who studied, another subject area and now decides that they are ready at this point in their life to move in another direction and study, a different content matter. So we are perfectly designed for that. The specialized studies are really an interesting group. They're here for a variety of reasons. Some of them are trying to improve their academic record for a variety of reasons. They may not have achieved the academic goals that they wanted to during their undergraduate career. And others just want to strengthen what they already have. They may have a wonderful academic record and they just need a little bit more time, a few more advanced courses, maybe some more experience to make themselves a stronger candidate. We'll see students who come into the program thinking they might want to go into medicine and decide throughout their growth and learning and experience that maybe it's not the best choice for them. So we have a fair number of students who might choose to do physician assistant program. We've had a few who have decided during a discernment process while they're here that they're interested in physical therapy. I've had students decide they're interested in public health. And I've also had students who are interested in nutrition careers. So we will work with the students for whatever health profession, if you're here, whatever health profession you might really draw your attention or your interest and help you to get there. Well, Penn really has the most flexibility. We are a large program. We have a variety of students in the student body, so there's diversity in the student body. We have people with no science experience and people who are very experienced in science, all working together. We also have an opportunity to leverage a lot of research training and clinical training opportunities for students, and we continue to put more of those in place each year. So it's something, the Penn experience is something that you're not going to be able to get elsewhere.
The new MCAT 2015 was administered for the first time last spring. I encourage you to visit the AAMC website for information updates. This new exam is designed with questions intended to cross scientific disciplines and encourage students to solve problems, like scientists. The test is divided into the following 4 sections: biological and biochemical foundations of living systems, chemical and physical foundations of biological systems, psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior, and critical analysis and reasoning skills. Potential applicants ask if they should take the MCAT before applying to our program. No, we do not expect applicants to take the MCAT prior to enrolling, but we encourage students to take the MCAT when they're best prepared to do so. However, we will require a standardized test result as part of your application, and this can be the SAT, the ACT, or the GRE. Again, if you have MCAT questions, I urge you to visit the AAMC website for announcements and updates.
Please stay tuned for our live Q&A session starting now.
Good evening. Welcome to the virtual information session for the pre-health programs at the University of Pennsylvania. My name is Jackie McLaughlin and I'm the director for the pre-health programs. This evening I'm fortunate to be joined by 2 of our current students in the program. I have Carrie Diamond, who's here. Carrie is in the core program, and Sid Tripathi, who is in the specialized studies program. Carrie is also, in addition to being a core student, she's also the founder and president for a medical Spanish club that she can tell you a little bit about. And Sid is also our current president for the Post-Bac Society, which is our student governance body. And you can explain a little bit more about what some of the activities are that the students are doing this year. You've already had a little bit of an introduction to the program, so I'm going to allow Carrie to tell you a little bit about herself and why she chose the core program here at University of Pennsylvania, and a little bit about what she's been doing.
Hi everyone, so like Jackie said, my name is Carrie Diamond and I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania. I graduated from Princeton University in 2013, where I majored in Spanish and Portuguese and minored in neuroscience and Latin American studies. I applied to the post-baccalaureate program at Penn while I was teaching in Singapore, and as I looked at other schools, I chose to come here because I found that the opportunities and the commitment of the professors in the program are really unparalleled, and they really want to see students succeed from office hours to individual appointments and just really making sure you understand the content. And beyond all of that, the resources at the disposal of the university are just incredible, from clinical research to shadowing or finding mentors. Really, Penn has it all, and those were big driving forces for me to come here. And while I've been a student in the core studies program, I started the medical Spanish initially as a crash course and now as an interest group as well, after seeing a lot of providers unable to communicate with their patients in the city of Philadelphia. And the resources and the ability to form that club I don't think would have been possible at a lot of other schools. LPS and Jackie were really instrumental in providing me with anything that was needed, from space to connection to other Spanish-speaking professionals and physicians on campus, and even being able to offer food to people, which is a big incentive in getting students and faculty to come to events.
We do like to feed you well. And Sid?
So I'm Sid Tripathi. I am from Doylestown, Pennsylvania, which is only about an hour north of here. And I attended the University of Pittsburgh for my undergrad, where I majored in molecular biology with a concentration in biochemistry, and also majored in business administration. So one of the major reasons that I wanted to do a post-bac program, and I eventually chose Penn, is because I feel like at the University of Pittsburgh, I didn't necessarily have the necessary advising to guide me through the process of all the classes I was taking, and that was something that I really found was very present at Penn. I noticed that even when I was just starting to interview, my interviewer, who was one of the advisors, was very interested in my life story, wanted to know about my background and how he could and how Penn could work with my career goals. So I started the Specialized Studies program last year, and I actually just finished it this past summer. And it was an incredible environment. One of the main reasons I feel that way is because of the environment that the teachers create. So as Carrie said, all of the teachers are incredibly invested into your success. And another thing I found coming to this program, all of the classes are really small. So there were about 30 to 40 kids in some of my biggest classes. And what you really have with that is you have an opportunity to work together in teams. And a lot of my classes really focused on teamwork, and that really sets you up to succeed in the medical profession that we're all interested in. So this past year, it gave me a chance to really improve my academics and focus on some higher level science courses, and that really improved my confidence and gave me the ability to pursue other opportunities, such as running for the e-board president. I wanted to make sure that all that I got out of this program, I could give back and make sure that future students could have that as well. So my responsibility in the e-board, we work together to organize events to make every student's time at the University of Pennsylvania more conducive to their success in their career and enjoyable while they're here. And we do that by organizing a variety of different events. We just had our social recently, so we really want people to get to know each other, because that's going to be your major support system while you're in the program. And we're also planning events for your career path, such as we have a physician shadowing program that will help put students in touch with physicians in the community who have offered to allow them to shadow them. And I really do think that the opportunities in this program, ranging from the opportunities for getting involved with organizations, the advisors, the teachers, I believe there's no other place more conducive to your future success.
Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to invite you to just send your questions in, and we'll be able to allow both Carrie and Sid to field your questions. But for right now, one question, a first question, is really about the size of the program. So we have basically two programs under pre-health. The first is the core program for those classic career changers like Carrie, who studied another subject and then decided at some point that you really were going to make that full-on commitment to studying the sciences and doing the prerequisite courses and going back to school to meet those requirements. Our core program right now is a little bit smaller than the specialized program, but it still is about half of our population, just under half of our population of students. Our specialized program then makes up the other half, and that is for students who have a scientific background and want to strengthen that background. There always are students at some point who fall in between the core program, the classic core program, and the specialized program. And we have found that we have enough flexibility here at Penn to be able to individualize the plan for those students and help to accommodate them for the most part. So that brings me to the numbers, and we have approximately 150 new students entering our program every year. And for a total of about 300 students in the program. So most students are able to take their coursework and complete their coursework in 2 years. The core students typically do take about 2 years. And specialized students, many of them will do it in 1 or 2 years. It depends on whether or not you want to be a full-time student or a part-time student, and whether or not you need to have additional experiences in addition to your coursework. So those are some of the things that you want to talk about during the admissions process. Carrie, how long have you been in the program? What track are you on?
So I finished up the core studies program, and I took about a year and a half to complete it. I started taking classes in the summer, and I started with just one course, which was cell biology. And then during the next fall and spring, I took 2 courses each semester. I took the physics 101 and 102 series with lab, and then the general chemistry 101 and 102 with lab as well. The following summer, I did something that was discouraged by my advisor, and that most students don't do, but I took organic chemistry, lecture, and lab all together in the 11-week, and then I was able to start working full-time the following fall and take some classes using my tuition benefit. So there was a financial incentive for me to finish the program earlier. But it's good that I had that flexibility, which a lot of other places I wouldn't have had.
Right. And how about you, Sid?
So I started the program last fall of 2017, right after graduating my undergrad. And I took 4 classes my first semester, then I took 3 classes the following semester, and 1 class over the summer. And the reason I took 3 classes in the spring semester is because, like Carrie, I started working at the hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, and that is something that a lot of these students here get involved with. There is an incredible array of different opportunities to get involved with research, clinical, whatever your application needs, you can kind of cater it to that.
How manageable is it to do 4 courses?
So I would say 4 courses was pretty equivalent to a full-time academic schedule. So if I'm taking 4 courses, I wouldn't want to be working or not have too many volunteer research commitments, but it is definitely manageable if I say if you maintain your diligence and really just stay up to date with all the class notes. And I think that that's something that a lot of the students who are coming into the specialized studies program really wanted to work on. They wanted to focus on honing in their study skills to prepare for medical school. And I think that the 4 course gives you something manageable, but also relatively similar to the rigors of medical school.
Oftentimes, it's a challenge initially when students come into the program and they're taking 4 CUs and science courses, because even though you might have been an undergrad science major, typically you didn't have all science courses. You
Yeah.
had other educational courses as well. So it can be a bit daunting at first, but we do have flexibility so that students can actually come in, talk with your advisor, and figure out what's the best way for you to distribute or redistribute those credits across your timeline. Sometimes it requires that you have a little bit of flexibility in your timeline as well. So maybe you came in with one idea about when you were going to finish and apply to medical school, and maybe the reality ends up being something a little different. But that's why we have, a team of advisors here in the program to help you make those decisions. Elton is asking whether or not he should retake the GRE. So I think this is pretty specific case here where your reading and writing was poor, but your math was good, and whether or not you should pick core or specialized. Let me give you sort of a general answer to that. We require a standardized test for every student who comes into the program. If you have SAT scores and you have ACT scores, we want to see them. So you don't have to go out and take the GRE for this program. But if you have taken the GRE, we want you to report those scores as well. Sometimes students have also taken an MCAT before they come into our program. If it's the case that you've taken the MCAT, you must report that MCAT score as part of your application. We do not recommend that you go out and prepare for the MCAT and take it before coming to our program. We prefer that you prepare for that, in the course of the program. But no, I wouldn't recommend that you go out and retake the GRE. I would like you to report all of your standardized test scores. So if that's an ACT and an SAT and a GRE, then report all of them because they give a little bit of information about us. We will also look at your academic record to see whether or not poor test scores are just that, poor test scores, and whether they're, you've redeemed yourself, through some of your academics as well. So we really do a holistic review when we look at our applicants and try and find who's the best fit for the program. Wanting to know, Elton, whether or not you should pick core or specialized, I think you need to decide that as part of your application. If you find that you think perhaps you should apply to the core program because you haven't had very much in sciences, that's probably a good decision. If we review your application and decide to bring you in for an interview, we will tell you if we think you should be moved into one program or the other. So it's not a fatal mistake if you apply to the core program or the specialized program, and we really think that you would be a better fit for the other program. Another viewer is asking whether or not this is a good program if you want to strengthen your GPA. So usually for students who are in the specialized studies program, that's exactly what a lot of those students are trying to do. Was that the case with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but then there are students who want to do more than just strengthen their GPA. So sometimes a student might have, I would say for our specialized study students, the average GPA is somewhere around a 3.3 coming into that program. Some students want to try and get their GPA to a 3.6. thinking that's going to make them a stronger, more competitive applicant. Other students might come in with a higher GPA than that, but they're really looking for experiences. Maybe they're not quite ready to apply yet, but they would really like to have some additional coursework to add to their application, and then some additional experiences as well. So let's see, there's another question here from Maria, who is an international student from the Philippines, and wants to know if there's any advice for a prospective international student. Maria, we don't have very many international students in the program. We may have 1 or 2 international students each year in the program. The reason for that is because it is each program, the core program and the specialized program, are both certificate programs. And your certificate, if you're an international student, must be completed within 1 year. It's very challenging for an international student to complete the core within 1 year and be fully prepared for a medical school application. If you're going into the specialized program, it is possible. That's usually where we see our international students, is taking 4 courses in the fall and 4 courses in the spring, and then they can fit that in. So you're certainly welcome to email us if you have more specific questions about that, Maria. But again, I don't know which program you're a better fit for at this time. Javiera has a question about science grades and prerequisites. You don't have the best science grades in the prereqs. What do you recommend? Did you have any science courses when you came into this program, Carrie?
Yeah, I had a lot of neuroscience coursework when I came in.
Oh, we do see a lot of people who come into the program with neuroscience as well, but then not having the basic pre-med prerequisites.
Right.
If your GPA and your grades aren't that good in the prerequisite courses, I would recommend that you take a look at the specialized studies program. That's probably the best fit where you belong. Some students wonder whether or not they should retake classes or not. Did you find yourself retaking any classes?
So I didn't retake any classes. What I have heard that medical schools prefer, especially if you've already taken these prereqs, they would rather, instead of seeing you take, say, biology again, they would rather see you take a higher level biology course, such as cell biology or microbiology, and perform well in that higher level course. And that shows them that you do have the capability to perform higher than what your grades represent in your prereqs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes students want to know, well, what GPA do I need to get into this program? Usually I recommend that you have to have at least a 3.0, whether you're applying to the core program or to the specialized. Oftentimes for the core students, that GPA, what we're looking for in GPA for the core student is much higher than a 3.0. And for specialized students, study students, we do like to see a 3.0, but there are times when we do accept students into the program who have below a 3.0. It depends on other factors and other strengths that you have as part of your application, whether or not you'd be a good fit for the program. The thing to remember is that it is an Ivy League institution. These are rigorous and challenging courses. And if your science background is really weak, or your math background is weak, and you're not prepared for these courses, it can be a pretty daunting task. Emily is asking about the benefits of starting in the summer versus fall for a full-time student. Now, you started in the summer, so that helped you get through the program in the time frame that you did. So it all depends, Emily, on whether or not you're ready to start in the summer and what courses you need to start with. Oftentimes we recommend that a core student who's starting in the summer starts with biology. Now, you didn't start with bio, did you?
Right, I started with the cell biology.
You started with cell bio.
Because I had some biology from undergrad.
Right. So
I think
Go
for
ahead.
the students who started in the summer, you actually had a little bit of an advantage because you came in when the undergraduates weren't really on campus, so you got to know just campus resources in a less stressful period for the institution as a whole. And then you could just get used to taking one class without having too many other commitments or distractions. So I started with cell biology and had class twice a week and could really focus on figuring out my routine, my study schedule during a less intense period. And for students who were taking the biology course, they were able to have class every day and really focus on, okay, what does my full day look like when I need to prepare for class? And I think we had a leg up when we started taking classes then in the fall and spring compared to students who were just starting and trying to figure it all out.
Right. It gives you a chance to get to know some faculty, get to know your advisors, get to know your way around campus, and really get acclimated to being back in school and being a student again. You had an advantage also in that you were only taking one CU, and you were taking what during the normal academic year would be a 14-week course. You were doing that in 11 weeks, whereas many of the core students, when they're doing biology in the summer, they're taking Bio 101 and 102, and so they're taking two 14-week courses in 5.5 weeks each.
Right.
So it's much more intensive. That way, and that accumulates to being 3 CUs instead of just the 1 CU. But I think it's really great if you can start in the summer. It does give you a chance to get acclimated, and it makes the fall a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Okay, Raj took some pre-med courses over 5 years ago. Is this the right program for me? You know what, Raj, you might want to send us an email or give us a call and see whether or not this is a good fit for you. Just because you took your pre-med courses 5 years ago doesn't necessarily mean that you have to repeat everything. You might have been working in the field, using some of those courses in research or something like that, and maybe coming in and doing advanced undergraduate courses like Sid did might be just the perfect thing for you. It's really hard with just a little bit of information for me to know whether or not this kind of a program, specialized program, would be good for you, or whether or not you might want to look at a special master's program instead. So in situations like that, when you have very specific questions, it's probably good to just send us an email or give us a call. Let's see. There's another question up here. I'm going to have to move up to read it a little bit.
When would be the best time to apply to this program?
When is the best time to apply to the program? We accept students into the program in the summer and in the fall and in the spring. So for core students like Carrie, applications are accepted in the summer and in the fall. We don't accept core students into the spring term. But for students like Sid, we do accept students in the fall, in the spring, and in the summer. When did you start?
I started in the fall.
Okay, and you started in the summer. Okay, good. Questions? I'm waiting to see if there's another question up there. Tell me a little bit about your housing situation. Are both of you living on campus?
So I live in West Philadelphia. I've now in my third place since I've changed apartments every year, but I've always lived within a maybe 15 to 20 minute walk of campus, and there's a lot of housing available just depending on what your price needs are, or if you want to have a roommate or not, and also what type of scenery you want to live in. I lived next to a park my first year, and then lived in an apartment later on that was a bit further but had just a better management system. So you can really find what you need in the West Philadelphia area, but Sid may be able to speak to
Yeah,
another
so
location.
I actually live in West Philadelphia as well. And what I've noticed is just around campus, there's a whole different variety of places you could live that cater to different interests. So, for example, living in West Philadelphia, it's close to campus and the rent is relatively cheaper. For example, I live with 2 other roommates and I pay about $560 a month and I only walk about 10 minutes to campus. But the other option is you can also live in Center City, where you are really a lot more into the hub of things, just in the heart of Philadelphia. There's a lot to see and do, different places to eat. You're also relatively close to campus, maybe a little bit further away, and that also comes with a slightly higher price range. And as you go west versus east, it kind of offers you a gradient, and you're allowed to pick something that caters to your needs perfectly. And overall, I would say Philadelphia is a great place to live, very rich culture, and it's a great city.
It's a great city to live in, definitely. So if you're not familiar with Philadelphia or not from Philadelphia, I would encourage you to come and visit, because it really is a very manageable city, and it also is a great place to be if you're in healthcare, because it sort of is our industry in this area. Angel wants to know about financial aid opportunities. This program does not have a traditional financial aid kind of package available, Angel, but you are eligible to apply for federal loans. So because either the core program or the specialized program are certificate programs, you can apply through FAFSA for federal loans. You can also apply and finance your education through private loans if you choose to do that route. Many of our students, though, actually end up working at University of Pennsylvania. And as a full-time employee, if you're lucky enough to end up getting a full-time research position at Penn, you can use your employee benefits to help to pay for your tuition. So are either of you in that situation?
Yep.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So that was part of the motivation for me to take the organic chemistry class all condensed in a summer session, because I started working full-time later that September, and I had been able to you can take up to 2 classes a semester basically for free with the tuition benefits. I work now as a project manager at a 24/7 acute research group where we enroll in very highly time-sensitive trials like sepsis or trauma-induced coagulopathy, and we have people at the hospital on call for any alert or enrollment that comes in. So it's a very exciting, high-paced research position that, again, probably, or actually does not exist anywhere else in the world.
And how about you? Are you using benefits?
So I actually stopped taking classes. I was only working part-time, and after I finished my last class, I switched to working full-time, including my clinical and research duties. I also work at the hospital, and that seems to be where a lot of the students around here work. And I do know of a lot of students that use their benefits to take classes for free, which is pretty great.
It's not exactly for free. As part of your benefits, you do end up paying taxes on that. But yeah, it's a tremendous benefit through the university. Laura wants to know how successful the students are, particularly the specialized students, in getting accepted to medical school. We have anywhere from 70 to 100 students who are applying to professional schools, so not only medical school, but veterinary school and dental school each year. So out of those students, Laura, the majority of them are applying to medical school. So we had close to, I'm trying to think of the exact number that we had this year in our latest cycle. I think it was probably close to 92 students who went through our committee letter process for medical school this year. Last year, for our specialized study students, they approximately 85% of those students who went through the committee letter cycle and were applying for the first time to medical school received offers of admission. It was just slightly over 90% for the core students. On average, the average is each for the past 3 years has been somewhere, around 85, 87% for both programs together. The students tend to do very well. coming from this program, I think they're very well prepared. The majority of students, if we're supporting them with their application, they typically are very well prepared for medical school or dental school or veterinary school. We do have some statistics that are up on our website, and we also have a page on the website which shows where most of the students are getting offers of admission. Gabrielle graduated with a BA from a Great Books program. Would I recommend a preparatory chemistry course or a refresher in calculus? So Gabrielle, from that question, I'm going to assume that you have a liberal arts background and very limited background in the sciences. So I think if you take a look at the courses that are required in the core program, you'll see that chemistry is required and physics is required. And it would be really smart to prepare in advance of taking those courses, to prepare with math. So that refresher may be calculus if you've had calculus before. If you haven't had calculus, it definitely would be pre-calculus or algebra and trig, to make sure that those tools that you need to be able to do chemistry and physics are really sharpened and you're able to do it without too much difficulty. Oftentimes when I see course students come in and they hit chemistry in the fall, or chemistry and physics are taken together, and they're really having challenges, it's because their math skills are on the weaker side. So it's really good to prepare for that. Fatima has a question about needing to take GREs or MCATs for the program. I think we had a question about standardized tests earlier, Fatima, but I'll repeat it again, that a standardized test score is required for this program. We do ask that you submit your SAT scores, ACT scores if you have them, and GRE scores if you've taken them. You do not need to take the GRE for this program, and you certainly don't need to take the MCAT for this program. However, if you have taken the MCAT when you apply to the program, it is required that you submit your MCAT scores. So any standardized test scores that you have, it's important that you submit them. They all give us little bits of information about your application that help us make a decision. Maria wants to know about full-time students working part-time. Yeah, I think both of our students here were able to work part-time while they were doing full-time coursework. So do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I would say that not necessarily starting out with that, because I know when you first start the program, it kind of takes like an adjusting process to get acclimated. I would say once you start, make yourself comfortable with your coursework, and if you find yourself having available time throughout the week and you are interested in finding a part-time job to bolster your clinical or research experiences, I would definitely say that it is manageable. And I do know a lot of students who do work part-time. Again, it would have to depend on the type of courses you're taking that semester, if it's something you're comfortable with, if you're taking how many courses you're taking that semester. I know if you're taking 4 course units, it might be a little difficult, but still possible if you are diligent with your time.
How about any advice for incoming course students on how to prepare for the program?
Yeah, I think Jackie mentioned earlier with the preparatory courses, but the first semesters where you're taking physics and chemistry are going to be very math intensive. And as much as you could know formulas and know the specifics for those classes, if your calculation skills are weak, that's going to slow you down. So just prepping ahead of time with either math coursework or reviewing there are some great materials out there from Khan Academy that you could look at before you start the program, just to get your basis and bearings for those courses. That would be a good idea.
That's great, thanks. And do you have any recommendations for specialized students to prepare for the program? Anything they need to know ahead of time?
So I know a lot of students might have not taken the path that I did coming out of undergrad and going straight into the specialized studies program. I actually have a friend who waited about 5 years and served in the Navy before coming back and starting in the program. So obviously not everyone has the same background or remembers the same amount from their undergrad going into this program. However, I think that the professors are very cognizant of that. Whenever you start a class, that they know that they have a variety of different students coming from a variety of different backgrounds, and they do cater to that. They give you the adequate background material and don't necessarily just expect you to jump into the deep end, even though they are advanced classes. They really do ease you in and care about making sure that you are caught up, and they won't let you fall behind. And as long as you put in the time and effort and do what they ask, I'm sure you shouldn't have a problem adjusting to the coursework.
In addition to the support that the faculty can deliver, I strongly encourage students to go to office hours with the faculty, but most of our students have learned that it's really important to form study groups with your peers and learn how to learn as a part of a team. That's important, but we also have a tutoring center here, particularly for the core students. We have students who've completed the core program and then they're trained by the tutoring center and paid by the tutoring center to actually serve as tutors for the core students. And we also have a learning center. So sometimes people need to change some study skills or gain some new strategies to be able to succeed in the STEM field. So we have some support there for students as well. Charles is a pre-dental student and I believe is in the application cycle right now, but concerned about a low GPA and wants to know if this program is something that would be beneficial for him. We do have students, Charles, in the specialized program who are already in the application cycle. So we have had students who've applied to dental school and were concerned about either their GPA or maybe their DAT score, and came to this program to help to make their GPA much more competitive. So this program works for pre-med students as well as pre-dental students and pre-vet students. Cameron wants to know how the certificate differs from a master's degree. A special master's program or a master's degree program that's designed for people in biomedical sciences is a graduate program. So the courses that students are taking in our specialized program are all advanced undergraduate courses. The benefit, Cameron, of taking advanced undergraduate courses, if you're in a situation such as SID, is that those undergraduate courses will go into your GPA and help to raise your undergraduate GPA. We know when you're applying to professional school that the factors that are very, very important in helping you get into professional school, whether it's dental school or vet school or medical school, are your GPA, definitely in your standardized test scores. So being able to strengthen that undergraduate GPA with additional courses is really beneficial. Sometimes students have just taken so many undergraduate courses that they really don't have a lot of hope for budging that GPA up into a range where it will make them more competitive. Then perhaps in that case, it's important to start to take a look at a master's degree program. But for students who we offer admission to in this program, we think they're going to be able to succeed in this program, and we think they're going to be able to move their GPA. Where we see students in specialized program, with GPAs at 3.4 and above in this program, that's where we're seeing offers of admission come in. So if you're successful in the program, usually the program will work for you. Can the DAT be accepted as a standardized test score? Yes, it can. So definitely, if you have taken the DAT, you must submit the DAT results. If you have other standardized tests, such as an SAT or an ACT, I want you to submit those as well. So all of your standardized tests should be submitted with your application. Javiera wants to know, will medical schools look at a GPA from this program or also from undergrad? Your medical school application will look at your undergrad institution GPA, and then they will also separately look at your GPA from this program, and then they will look at the GPA from the two programs together. So they'll look at how the specialized studies courses that you took here and your GPA from Penn will raise, and hopefully raise, your overall GPA. And what is that question down there at the bottom? International students?
International student applying January for specialized. Can I only attend for spring
Okay.
And summer.
So
And summer.
spring and summer. So if you're an international student who's applying in January for specialized, again, you have to complete your coursework in a year. So if you're starting specialized in January, that means all of those 8 CUs that you complete, as part of the certificate program would have to be completed by December. So hopefully that answers that question. I'm going to turn to you and I'm going to ask you, what has been one of the biggest growth experiences that you've had during the time that you've been here?
That's a great question. I think I really learned how to manage my time efficiently with a challenging but doable science course load, and also how to work to solve problems with students. I know in my undergraduate career I did a lot of studying just by myself in a library, going through textbooks or problem sets or reading. But here we just have a really collaborative atmosphere. Actually, Sid and I were in a physiology course together, and students would work on preparing test questions together as a form of quizzing ourselves, and we would also submit them to the professor, and we just learned how to really digest a lot of the material. And I think that's something that, after speaking with med students at different schools, is an invaluable skill that you also see physicians using when they round on patients every day. And so I think that's been the biggest learning and growth opportunity for me here.
Thank you. Another viewer wants to know if our classes are combined with the undergraduate students. And the answer is no. We roster our own classes. Our classes that we run must be equivalent to the classes that are offered during the day, but the majority of our classes are offered in the late afternoon and in the evening. That's a benefit to the students because it enables you to get experiences during the day. Sometimes students can't fit all 4 courses into an evening schedule, and then in those cases you can opt to take a day class. And typically we will approve it for you to take it with the LPS tuition as well. So what's been the greatest learning experience for you in this program?
So I definitely agree with Carrie that having the different responsibilities of working, taking multiple science courses at once was definitely something that built my diligence and also helped me grow as a student and will definitely prepare me for medical school. But also I think that the collaborative environment for sure, because I know that in my undergrad, all of our courses were about like 300 students, and here it was completely different. We had classes that were like the professor knew you personally. There were only like 20 other students in the classroom. It wasn't just tests given with roll numbers. We had assignments like group presentations or group projects. And I think the aspect of having to work with other people and building your teamwork skills is something that is invaluable for a career for people going into the healthcare field. So I think that is one of the greatest ways I was able to grow over the course of this program.
Great, thank you. Okay. Susan wants to know if this program is good for somebody who wants to go to PA school. That's a great question, Susan. It depends on what your academic background looks before you apply to the program. We do have every year probably several students who've come into the program thinking, I want to go to med school, maybe I want to go to PA school, and are still in that process of discerning between the two. We support you if you're applying to PA school, if you're applying for PT, for any other career in the health field that you might decide you want as well. The issue is that you might have to take some classes outside of LPS, such as anatomy and physiology in the nursing school, but that usually isn't a problem for students at all. We are one of the viewers is asking whether or not we're currently accepting summer applications. Yes, we are. So if you're interested in summer, you can go ahead and submit that application now. We're reviewing them now. Raj, yes, there are linkages. The majority of our linkages are for the core students, but we also have 2 linkages for specialized students as well. I encourage you to take a look at the website to see what our linkages are. The way that linkage works is it's like an early admission process, so it does cut off the time you're in of the glide year. So the whole application process to medical school takes a year. So with a linkage program, you're actually matriculating in the same year in which you're applying. And I think we have time for like maybe one more question. How many hours of studying a week do you have to do? How many hours of studying a week do you do? Normally, if you're 3 hours a week in a class, we usually say it's 6 to 9 hours outside of class that you're studying. Does that sort of ring true to you, for you?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Mm-hmm. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think, I think it'll average out to about 6 or 9 hours, because I know there's some weeks when you're going to be studying 1-to-1 for each hour you're in class, but there's also going to be other weeks, like finals week, when you're going to be studying closer to 1-to-4. And I think it's different, but it's definitely manageable. And I know a lot of times multiple teachers teach the same classes, and they're sure to make sure that the classes don't have tests on the same day, and they really look out to cater to make sure that you can adapt to the schedule.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that we had an opportunity to answer most of your questions. Again, I encourage you to go to the website. There's lots of information there. And you can also send us an email or give us a call if you need to get more questions answered. So good luck to you. Good luck with your application. And thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.